in the heart of Selma, Alabama, where the sun dipped low over endless fields of cotton and corn, Sophia Carter sat on the worn porch of her family's modest farmhouse. The air was thick with the scent of earth and wildflowers, a reminder of her roots that had once grounded her in simplicity, but now felt like chains binding her to a life she never chose. At 28, Sophia was a vision of quiet strength, her deep brown skin glowing under the golden hues of twilight, her dark curls framing a face that held both the softness of dreams and the sharpness of resilience. She had grown up here in this small town, where whispers of racial divides still lingered like shadows, where opportunities were scarce, and survival meant fighting for every inch of dignity. Her phone buzzed softly in her hand, pulling her from her reverie. The message was from a number she had saved, but never truly known Liam Hall. The words on the screen were stark impersonal, like a business transaction sealed in digital ink. Ms. Carter, the mourning period for my father has passed. Our marriage can end now. When shall we meet at the courthouse? 3 years. 3 long years since she had signed that contract in a sterile lawyer's office in New York, binding her fate to a man she had never met, a white billionaire whose world was as distant from hers as the skyscrapers of Manhattan were from the dirt roads of Selma. Sophia's heart didn't race. It steadied, as if this moment had been inevitable. She had been 25 then, fresh from a life upended by her family's financial ruin. Her father, a hard-working farmer, had fallen ill, and the debts had piled up like storm clouds. The Hall family, with their vast empire in finance and real estate, had offered a lifeline, a marriage of convenience. Liam Hall needed a wife to fulfill a clause in his father's will about stability and legacy in their elite circles. Sophia needed the money to save her home. It was a deal, not a dream. A quiet ceremony via proxy. No rings exchanged. No vows whispered under starry skies. She had lived anonymously, using the funds to rebuild her life, while Liam continued his reign over Hall Enterprises, oblivious or indifferent. She typed back with steady fingers. Mr. Hall, 3 years of silence, and your first words are about divorce. Fine by me. The Hall family rules are too rigid for someone like me, a girl from the rural South. Sending it felt like shedding a skin that had never quite fit. The Hall estate, with its unspoken expectations of poise and pedigree, had always loomed like a distant castle, inaccessible and unwelcoming. She imagined Liam now in his penthouse overlooking Central Park, surrounded by the gleam of marble and the hum of power deals. A man whose name graced Forbes lists, whose blue eyes and chiseled features turned heads in boardrooms and galas. What did he know of her world? Of the quiet battles against prejudice, how her skin color had once barred doors that opened easily for him. As the sun set, painting the sky in strokes of crimson and gold, Sophia stood and walked inside. The house was alive with memories. Her mother's faded photographs on the mantel, her father's old guitar leaning against the wall. She had used part of the marriage stipend to pay off the farm's loans, ensuring her parents could live without fear of foreclosure. But the cost. Her freedom tethered to a ghost of a husband. Divorce meant liberation, a chance to reclaim her identity beyond the label of Mrs. Hall on paper alone. The next day, Sophia flew to New York, her first visit to the city in years. The skyline rose like a promise of reinvention, but doubt crept in as she navigated the bustling streets of Manhattan. What if Liam reneged on the $50 million settlement? It was outlined in the contract that a generous sum would be used to ensure her silence and departure. She checked into a modest hotel in Midtown, far from the opulence of Liam's world, and prepared for the meeting at the courthouse. But before that, she needed a distraction, a walk through the luxury shops on Fifth Avenue, where the windows shimmered with jewels and fabrics she could now afford but rarely indulged in. The air in Bergdorf Goodman was perfumed with wealth, the kind that whispered of exclusivity. Sofia browsed the dresses, her fingers tracing silk that felt like a caress. A voice shattered the calm. Look at her, pretending she belongs here. Missy Lane, a socialite with platinum hair and a pedigree as old as the Mayflower, sneered from across the aisle. Missy's eyes raked over Sofia, lingering on her skin tone with thinly veiled disdain. From the South, aren't you? Slumming it in our stores. The words stung, echoing the prejudices Sofia had faced all her life, the subtle barriers in a city that prided itself on progress, but harbored old divides. Sofia's response was calm, laced with steel. And you, buying validation with Daddy's credit card. At least I earned my place. The confrontation escalated. Missy hurled insults, invoking stereotypes that made Sofia's blood boil. But Sofia held her voice steady, drawing the store manager's attention. Security intervened, but not before Missy vowed revenge, storming out with threats of blocking Sofia from every high-end boutique in the city. Unbeknownst to Sofia, Liam had been monitoring the situation. He received a report from his assistant about the incident from his office atop the hall tower. Why did it bother him? This woman he had married on paper, a stranger from a world so different from his own. Yet her defiance intrigued him. He made a call, acquire the Fifth Avenue property, double the offer if needed. By evening, the mall's ownership shifted to Hall Enterprises, and Missy found herself persona non grata in her favorite haunts. Sofia returned to her hotel, unaware of the strings pulled behind the scenes. Her phone buzzed again. Liam. Courthouse tomorrow, 10 a.m. Bring the papers. No warmth, no inquiry into her well-being. She sighed, gazing at the city lights, twinkling like distant stars. In that moment, she wondered about the man behind the messages, a billionaire whose life was a fortress of control. Did he ever feel the pull of something real beyond contracts and conquests? As sleep claimed her dreams, wove through her mind, a dance under New York's neon glow, where differences melted into desire. The courthouse loomed the next morning, a gray edifice amid the chaos of downtown Manhattan. Sofia arrived early, dressed in a simple black suit, accentuating her graceful figure. Liam was already there, tall and imposing, in a tailored navy ensemble, his presence commanding the room like a king in his court. Their eyes met for the first time, his piercing blue against her warm brown, and a spark ignited, unspoken but undeniable. Ms. Carter, he said, his voice smooth as aged whiskey. Shall we proceed? But as they sat with the lawyers, Liam hesitated. The papers lay unsigned, his pen hovering. We may delay. There are complications with the estate. Sofia's brow furrowed. Was this a ploy? Yet she saw a flicker in his gaze. Curiosity, perhaps even attraction. The meeting ended without finality, leaving her to return to Selma with questions swirling like autumn leaves. Back home, the farm welcomed her with open arms. Unaware of the truth, her parents celebrated her success on her business trip. But Sofia's mind wandered to Liam. Who was he really? A search on her laptop revealed headlines: Liam Hall, the enigmatic billionaire, revolutionizing finance. Photos showed him at galas, always alone, his smile never reaching his eyes. She traced his history from Harvard graduate to war veteran, scarred by service in Afghanistan, returning to build an empire from his father's ashes. Days turned to weeks, and messages were exchanged sparingly. Liam's world pulled him into boardroom battles, where deals worth billions hung in the balance. Yet thoughts of Sofia intruded her poise in adversity the way she challenged norms. In a rare moment of vulnerability, he visited a therapist in a discreet Upper East Side office, admitting the marriage weighed on him. "She's different," he confessed from a place where resilience is born, not bought. Sofia, meanwhile, volunteered at a local community center in Selma, teaching young girls about empowerment. Her heart ached for connection, for a love that transcended contracts. One evening, as rain pattered on the roof, she penned a letter she never sent Liam. "I hear echoes of worlds apart in your silence. But in the quiet, there's room for us." The turning point came when Liam's assistant called. "Mr. Hall requests your presence at the Hamptons estate. Urgent matters." Sofia's pulse quickened. Was this the end or the beginning? As her plane lifted off toward New York, the horizon blurred, mirroring the uncertainty in her soul. Little did she know Liam awaited not just to divorce, but to discover if fate had woven something more profound between them. A romance-defying class, and color blooming in the unlikeliest of soils. The Hamptons stretched like a canvas of luxury along Long Island's coast, where ocean waves whispered secrets to sprawling estates hidden behind manicured hedges. Liam Hall's mansion, a modern marvel of glass and stone, overlooked the Atlantic, its lights casting a golden halo against the encroaching dusk. Sofia Carter arrived as the sun dipped below the horizon, her rental car crunching over the gravel driveway. She stepped out, the salty breeze tangling her curls, carrying the promise of change. At 28, she embodied grace under pressure. Her presence, a blend of southern warmth and unyielding spirit, a stark contrast to the polished world she now entered. Liam stood at the entrance, his silhouette framed by the grand doors. He was every inch the billionaire, broad shoulders in a crisp white shirt, sleeves rolled up to reveal forearms honed by discipline. His blue eyes scanning her with an intensity that sent a shiver down her spine. This was no longer a phantom from messages. He was honest, tangible, exuding an aura of command softened by an unexpected vulnerability in his gaze. "Ms. Carter," he greeted, his voice a low timbre that resonated like distant thunder. "Welcome to my home." Sofia met his eyes steadily, her heart a quiet drumbeat. "Mr. Hall, or should I say, husband?" The word hung between them, laced with irony. They moved inside the foyer, echoing with their footsteps on marble floors. Crystal chandeliers overhead sparkled like captured stars, and walls adorned with abstract art spoke of refined taste. Liam led her to a sunroom overlooking the beach, where twilight painted the waves in shades of indigo and silver. They sat across from each other, a glass table between them like a barrier. "Why the delay?" Sofia asked, her tone measured. "The contract is clear divorce after 3 years." Liam leaned back, studying her. "Complications?" He replied evasively. "The will requires stability. Rushing might invite scrutiny." But his eyes betrayed more. They lingered on her, tracing the curve of her lips, the poise in her posture. Sofia felt exposed yet empowered. "And me? Am I just a clause to you?" The conversation deepened as night fell. Liam shared fragments of his life, the pressure of leading Hall Enterprises, and the loneliness of boardrooms where trust was currency. He said, "My father built this from nothing," gesturing to the opulent room. "But legacy comes at a cost." Sofia listened, her empathy a gentle bridge. She spoke of Selma, the community bonds, and the struggles against inequality that shaped her. "I've fought for my place," she said softly, "not with money, but with heart." Tension simmered as they dined on a terrace under string lights, the ocean's rhythm, a soothing backdrop. Liam's questions probed deeper. "Why agree to this marriage?" Sofia's answer was honest, "To save my family. But I've built my own path, volunteering, dreaming of more." He nodded, intrigued by her independence. As wine flowed, barriers cracked. Laughter escaped when Sofia teased his formal demeanor. "Do you ever let loose, Liam?" His smile was rare, genuine, warming the cool evening air. Yet doubt lingered. Liam's phone buzzed with work alerts, pulling him away momentarily. Sofia wandered the mansion, discovering a library filled with first editions, Hemingway, Baldwin, mirroring her love for literature. Returning, she found him gazing at the sea, lost in thought. "Afghanistan changed me," he confessed unexpectedly. "The scars aren't just physical." Sofia's touch on his arm was tentative, electric. "We all carry scars," she whispered. "Mine are from battles unseen." The night deepened their connection. They walked the beach barefoot on cool sand waves lapping at their feet. Liam spoke of his isolation in elite circles where alliances were fleeting. Sofia shared stories of resilience in Selma, overcoming prejudice with quiet determination. Under the moon's silver glow, their hands brushed a spark that ignited unspoken desire. "You're not what I expected," Liam admitted, his voice husky. Sofia's heart fluttered. "Neither are you." Back inside Aunt Betty, the loyal housekeeper prepared guest rooms. But Liam suggested Sofia stay in the main suite. For appearances, he said, though his eyes hinted at more. Sofia agreed, but insisted on boundaries. "Separate spaces until we sort this out." As she retired to her room overlooking the ocean, thoughts swirled. Liam was complex, a fortress with hidden gardens. In his presence, she felt seen, valued beyond the contract. The following morning brought clarity. They discussed logistics over breakfast on the terrace, fresh croissants and coffee steaming in the sea breeze. Liam proposed extending the arrangement, help with a few events. In return, more support for your causes in Selma. Sofia waited, sensing his ulterior motive. Curiosity about her. "Only if it's equal," she countered. No more silence. Their first joint outing was a charity gala in Southampton, where the Hamptons elite gathered. Sofia, in an elegant gown that hugged her curves, turned heads. Whispers followed. "Who's she with Hall?" Liam's arm around her waist was protective, possessive. When a rival executive, Philip Kane, approached with veiled insults, "Exotic choice Hall." Liam's retort was sharp. "She's irreplaceable." Sofia's poise shone, engaging donors on social issues, her passion infectious. As the evening waned, they drove back, the road winding through starlit dunes. "You were brilliant," Liam said, his hand finding hers. Sofia smiled, the touch sending warmth through her. "And you, defending me like that." In the mansion's quiet, they shared a nightcap by the fireplace. Flames danced, mirroring the heat between them. Liam leaned closer. "Stay a while longer." Sofia's breath caught, but she pulled back gently. "Not yet. We need the truth first." Days blurred into exploration. They sailed on Liam's yacht, off Montauk, wind whipping, as they laughed over shared stories. Sofia taught him Southern recipes in the kitchen flour, dusting their clothes in playful chaos. Liam opened up about his fears, losing control in a world of cutthroat deals. Sofia's empathy soothed him, her strength a balm. Yet shadows loomed. Tessa Greenwood, Liam's old friend from Harvard, called, her voice laced with familiarity. Sofia overheard. "We need to talk, Liam, about us." Jealousy flickered, but Sofia suppressed it. As storms raged outside that night, they sat by the window, rain streaking the glass. "Who is she?" Sofia asked. Liam's honesty surprised her. A past. Nothing more. Their eyes locked, and in that vulnerability, desire bloomed a kiss almost shared, halted by restraint. The part culminated in a quiet revelation. Walking the estate's gardens at dawn, dew-kissed roses perfuming the air. Liam confessed, "I don't want to let go yet." Sofia's heart swelled. Then, show me who you are. As the sun rose, painting the sky in hues of promise, their worlds inched closer, a romance unfolding like petals in spring, delicate yet destined to flourish. The Hamptons mansion had become a sanctuary for Sophia Carter, with its sprawling lawns kissed by the morning mist rolling in from the Atlantic. In this place, the boundaries between obligation and desire began to blur like the horizon at dawn. Days had passed since their initial encounters on the beach and in the library. These moments lingered in her mind, like the faint scent of salt water on skin. As the sun climbed higher, casting golden rays through the floor-to-ceiling windows of the breakfast nook, Sophia felt the weight of the Hall family's expectations settling upon her like an invisible veil. Aunt Betty, the steadfast housekeeper, whose silver-streaked hair and warm eyes hid a spine of steel forged in decades of service to the Halls, moved about the kitchen with the grace of someone who knew every secret corner of the estate. She was more than staff. She was the guardian of traditions, the enforcer of the unwritten rules that governed this world of privilege. Mrs. Hall Betty said, her voice a gentle lilt with a hint of southern drawl that reminded Sophia of home. The family brunch is this Sunday. Eleanor, Mrs. Hall Sr. will be expecting you to host. It's tradition. Sophia paused, her fork hovering over a plate of fresh fruit and artisanal yogurt, the flavors bursting like summer memories on her tongue. Eleanor Hall Liam's grandmother was a formidable figure, a matriarch whose influence extended from the boardrooms of Wall Street to the charitable galas of the Upper East Side. Sophia had heard stories, Eleanor's sharp wit, her unyielding standards, and her quiet advocacy for social causes that bridged divides. But to Sophia, she represented the pinnacle of a world where poise was armor and any crack could invite judgment. Host Sophia echoed her tone laced with a subtle undercurrent of apprehension. What does that entail? Betty smiled, setting down a steaming cup of herbal tea infused with lavender from the estate's gardens. It's about presence, dear. The Halls have always prided themselves on unity, on showing the world a seamless front. You'll greet the guests and ensure the conversation flows like fine wine. And remember, Eleanor values authenticity, but wrapped in elegance. The words hung in the air, a delicate reminder of the chasm between Sophia's roots in Selma's humble gatherings and the polished rituals of this elite enclave. As Betty retreated, Sophia's thoughts drifted to Liam, who had left for a meeting in the city at dawn. His absence was a palpable void, yet his presence lingered in the subtle ways he had begun to weave into her days. A handwritten note on the nightstand, suggesting a book from his collection, or the way he had arranged for fresh flowers from a local farm, their petals echoing the wild blooms of Alabama. But with the family's gaze upon her, Sophia felt the pressure mounting, a tide pulling her deeper into waters she wasn't sure she could navigate. The weekend approached like a gathering storm, and Sophia prepared meticulously. She selected a dress from the wardrobe Liam had subtly stocked, a flowing midi in deep emerald that complemented her rich skin tone, its fabric whispering against her as she moved. The brunch was to be held in the sun-drenched conservatory, where exotic plants from around the world bloomed in defiance of the seasons, symbolizing the Hall family's global reach. Eleanor arrived first, her silver hair impeccably styled, her eyes sharp as Liam's, assessing Sophia with a mix of curiosity and expectation. "Darling," Eleanor said, air-kissing Sophia's cheeks with the practiced affection of high society. "You look radiant. Liam has spoken of you with intrigue." Sophia's pulse quickened at the mention of his name, but she smiled, her composure a shield. "Thank you, Mrs. Hall. It's an honor to host." The guests trickled in, cousins from Boston, aunts from Chicago, all bearing the Hall surname like a badge of legacy. Conversations swirled around philanthropy, stock fluctuations, and summer escapes to the vineyard topics that Sofia navigated with the poise of someone who had studied them like a foreign language. Yet beneath the surface, tensions simmered. One aunt, Vivian, with her pearl necklace and arched brows, leaned in during a lull. "Sofia, dear, tell us about your background." "Selma, was it? How quaint. The South has such character." The words dripped with condescension, a veiled probe into the differences that set Sofia apart: the color of her skin, the humility of her origins. Sofia felt the sting, but her response was laced with quiet power. "Yes, Selma shaped me. It's where I learned that true strength comes from community, not just capital. Perhaps that's why I'm drawn to causes like education, equity, bridging worlds much like this family does." Eleanor's nod was approving, but the exchange left Sofia introspective. She stole moments to observe as the brunch unfolded, with laughter echoing off glass walls and champagne flutes clinking like distant bells. The halls were a tapestry of ambition and tradition, their rules unspoken, but ironclad loyalty above all appearances meticulously curated. Sofia wondered if Liam chafed under them as she did his independence, a rebellion masked by success. Liam returned midway his arrival like a shift in the wind. He entered the conservatory, his suit rumpled from the drive-bys, seeking hers immediately. "Apologies for the delay," he said, his voice carrying that resonant depth. He sat beside her, his hand brushing hers under the table, a warm, reassuring touch that sent ripples through her. "Family," he murmured low enough for only her ears can be a double-edged sword. The afternoon waned into games on the lawn croquet under the sun, where Sofia's competitive spirit shone, earning laughs and admiration. But as guests departed, Eleanor pulled her aside in the rose garden, the blooms heavy with fragrance. "Sofia, you're more than a name on a document. Liam needs someone who challenges him, who sees beyond the facade. But remember, our world demands resilience. Please show them your fire, but temper it with grace." The words were a balm and a burden, affirming Sofia's place while reminding her of the scrutiny. That evening, as twilight enveloped the mansion, Sofia found solace on the balcony. The ocean's murmur was a lullaby, stars emerging like scattered diamonds. Liam joined her, a glass of bourbon in hand, his presence a magnetic pull. Today was intense, he admitted, leaning on the railing, his profile etched against the night. Sofia turned to him, her eyes reflecting the starlight. "Your family is a force, but I felt like an outsider proving my worth." He set down his glass, stepping closer, the space between them charged with unspoken longing. "You're not an outsider, not to me." His fingers traced her arm, a feather-light caress that ignited sparks. "Eleanor's right, you challenge me in ways I never anticipated." Sofia's breath caught the air thick with possibility. "And you, do you see me, Liam? Beyond the contract?" His answer was in his eyes, a depth that spoke of battles won and vulnerabilities hidden. "I see a woman who's rewritten my expectations. Strong, beautiful, unyielding." The words wrapped around her like silk, convincing in their sincerity. As the waves crashed below, they stood in silence, the pressure of family rules fading into the promise of something more profound, a connection forged in the quiet spaces between duty and desire. The days following brimmed with subtle shifts. Sofia delved into the family's charitable foundation, proposing initiatives for underserved communities in the South, her passion convincing Eleanor to allocate funds. Liam, in turn, shared more of his burdens, the endless negotiations, the isolation of power. One afternoon, they escaped to a hidden cove, picnicking on the sand. Laughter flowed freely, his stories of youthful adventures, mingling with hers of starry nights in Alabama. Yet the rules persisted. A family dinner in the city tested her anew, where discussions turned to legacy, and heirs' eyes glancing her way with expectation. Sofia held her own, her insights on diversity in business, earning nods. Liam's pride was evident, his hand finding hers under the table again. "You're remarkable," he whispered later in the car's dim interior as they drove back. The city lights blurred past, mirroring the whirlwind in her heart. As the party drew close, Sofia stood in the mansion's atrium moonlight, filtering through skylights. The pressure had forged her, revealing layers of strength she hadn't known. Liam approached, his touch on her shoulder electric. "Thank you for enduring this," he said softly. Sofia turned her gaze, meeting his. "It's not endurance, it's discovery." At that moment, the rules of the Hall family became not chains, but threads weaving them closer, a tapestry of romance that was resilient and radiant. The glittering spires of Manhattan rose like sentinels against the evening sky, their lights a constellation of ambition and allure. Now more attuned to Liam Hall's world rhythms, Sofia Carter prepared for the gala at the Metropolitan Museum of Art, a nexus where art met commerce and deals were sealed amid masterpieces. The invitation arrived like a summons etched in gold, a charity auction for global education, where Hall Enterprises sought a pivotal partnership with the Smiths and international investors. Sofia's role was undefined yet crucial, a subtle dance of support in a realm where every glance held meaning. Her gown was a masterpiece in itself, midnight blue silk that cascaded like a waterfall, accentuating the elegant lines of her form. Her skin glowing under the soft chandelier light of the dressing room. She pinned a brooch of sapphires, a gift from Eleanor, symbolizing the family's quiet endorsement. Liam entered his tuxedo perfectly tailored, exuding an effortless charisma that made her breath hitch. "You outshine the stars," he murmured, his blue eyes tracing her reflection in the mirror. Sofia smiled, her heart a flutter of wings. "And you, ready to conquer." The drive into the city was a cocoon of anticipation, the limousine gliding through traffic like a shadow. Liam briefed her on the stakes. "The Smiths hold key funding for our expansion into emerging markets. Charm them, and we secure the future." Sofia nodded, her mind weaving strategies drawn from her own experiences. Conversations on equity that could bridge cultural gaps. As they arrived, the museum's steps were alive with flashbulbs and finery, a red carpet unfolding like a river of dreams. Inside, the grand hall echoed with murmurs and music, ancient artifacts watching over modern machinations. Sofia moved with poise, her arm linked with Liam's, drawing admiring glances. But whispers followed Hall's mystery companion, exquisite. But from where? The undercurrent of curiosity was laced with judgment, a reminder of the divides she navigated. Liam's hand tightened on hers, a silent reassurance. The conflict ignited subtly, like embers catching wind. Philip Kane, a rival mogul with a reputation for ruthless tactics, approached with a predatory smile. "Liam, old friend. And this is—" His eyes lingered on Sofia, appraising, dismissive. "Sofia Carter Hall," she replied evenly, extending a hand. Kane's grip was firm, his words slick, charming. But in our circles one must wonder, does she understand the game? The insinuation stung, implying her background rendered her unfit, a veiled nod to the racial and class barriers that persisted even in this gilded space. Liam's jaw tightened, but Sofia interjected with refined steel. "The game or the impact? Education isn't just funding, it's empowerment. Tell me, Mr. Kane, how do your investments address disparities in places like the American South?" Her question hung sharp and insightful, turning heads. Cain faltered his retort. Weak. Well, profits drive change. The exchange rippled through the crowd, Sofia's eloquence a beacon that illuminated her depth. As the auction commenced, bids soared for priceless pieces. A Monet sketch, a rare vase from antiquity. Liam and Sofia sat with the Smiths, an elderly couple whose philanthropy spanned continents. Mrs. Smith, with her kind eyes and worldly wisdom, leaned toward Sofia. You speak with passion. What fuels it? Sofia shared stories of Selma's schools, which were underfunded yet resilient. Her words painting vivid pictures of hope amid hardship. Mr. Smith nodded, impressed. We need partners who see beyond numbers. Sensing the shift, Cain maneuvered closer during intermission, cornering Sofia near a display of Renaissance art. Impressive facade, he sneered, his breath laced with champagne. But Liam needs alliances, not distractions. You're out of your depth. Sofia's eyes flashed, but her response was measured, a velvet glove over iron depth. I've swum oceans you can't fathom. And Liam, he values vision over venom. The confrontation drew Liam's attention. He strode over, his presence a storm front. Cain, enough. Sofia is my partner in every sense. The gala's climax arrived with the final bid, a sculpture symbolizing unity, fetching millions. The Smiths, swayed by Sofia's insights, pledged their support to Hall Enterprises, sealing the deal over post-auction toasts. To new beginnings. Mr. Smith raised his glass, gazing at Sofia. And to voices like yours. Liam's pride was palpable, his arm a protective and possessive claim around her waist. As they departed, the city's night enveloped them, neon lights, reflecting in puddles from a recent rain. In the limo, Liam turned to her. You were extraordinary. Cain didn't stand a chance. Sofia leaned into him, the adrenaline fading into warmth. It wasn't just for the deal. It was for us, for proving I belong. His kiss was sudden, tender, a brush of lips that spoke volumes, igniting a fire that had smoldered too long. Back at the Hamptons, the mansion welcomed them with hushed quiet. They lingered in the study fire, crackling in the hearth, sharing reflections. Liam said, tonight showed me your light, his fingers entwining with hers. Sofia's heart swelled. And you, standing by me, it meant everything. The conflict had forged them closer. Cain's barbs mere echoes in the symphony of their growing bond. The following weeks bloomed with the partnership's fruits meetings in sleek offices where Sofia's input shaped strategies. She advocated for inclusive programs, her voice a catalyst. Liam, in turn, surprised her with gestures, a weekend getaway to the Catskills, where they hiked trails lined with autumn foliage, conversations deepening into confessions of fears and dreams. One evening, as they dined al fresco under a canopy of stars, Liam raised a toast to the woman who shines brightest in the storm. Sofia's eyes misted, convinced by his sincerity. The Manhattan Gala had been a crucible, refining their connection into something unbreakable, a romance etched in the city's pulse, resilient and radiant. The Hamptons mansion, bathed in the soft silver glow of a late September moon, stood as a silent witness to the evolving dance between Sofia Carter and Liam Hall. The ocean's rhythmic whispers drifted through the open windows of the main suite, where the air was heavy with the scent of jasmine from the garden below. After the triumph at the Manhattan Gala, where Sofia's brilliance had secured a pivotal deal and Liam's defense had ignited sparks of connection, the boundaries of their contract marriage seemed to blur like the edges of a watercolor painting left in the rain. Sofia, at 28, felt the stirrings of something more profound, a longing that tugged at her heart, both thrilling and terrifying in its intensity. The suite, with its plush ivory linens and minimalist decor, was a shared space now, a concession to Aunt Betty's insistence on maintaining appearances for the Hall family's watchful eyes. Sofia reluctantly agreed, her practical southern roots warring with the flutter in her chest at the thought of sharing such intimacy with Liam. Tonight, after a long day of meetings in the city, Liam had returned with a faint shadow of exhaustion in his blue eyes, his tailored jacket slung over a chair, revealing a white shirt that clung to the contours of his frame. Sofia, wrapped in a soft cashmere robe, sat by the window, and a book of Maya Angelou's poetry opened on her lap. Its words mirror her resilience. "You're up late," Liam said, his voice a low melody that broke the quiet. He stood by the door, loosening his tie, the gesture disarmingly human for a man who seemed carved from ambition. Sofia turned, her dark curls catching the moonlight. "Couldn't sleep. The ocean's too loud tonight, or maybe it's my thoughts." Her honesty hung between them, an invitation to bridge the distance. He crossed the room, settling on the edge of the bed, his gaze steady. "What's on your mind?" The question was simple, yet it carried a weight, an opening to vulnerability. Neither had dared to cross. Sofia hesitated, then closed her book, her fingers tracing its spine. "Us," she admitted softly. "This arrangement. It's starting to feel like more, and I don't know if that's safe." Liam's expression softened, a rare crack in his composed facade. "Safe," he echoed, leaning closer, the space between them shrinking. "Nothing about you has ever been safe, Sofia. You challenge everything I thought I knew." His words were a confession, wrapped in the velvet of his voice, convincing her heart to listen. She felt the pull like gravity urging her to lean into him, but caution held her back. The moment shifted when Liam coughed, a faint rasp that betrayed a lingering cold from the gala's late-night revelry. Sofia's instincts, honed by years of caring for her family and Selma, kicked in. "You're sick," she said, rising with purpose. "Stay there." She disappeared into the ensuite, returning with a small tray, a steaming mug of chamomile tea, a bottle of honey from a local apiary, and a thermometer. "Drink this," she instructed, her tone firm yet tender, like a breeze carrying warmth. Liam arched a brow, amusement flickering in his eyes. "And bossing me around now." But he took the mug, his fingers brushing hers, sending a current through her veins. Sofia checked his temperature as he sipped, her touch gentle against his forehead. She declared no fever, but, "You need rest," her voice softening. "No boardrooms tomorrow, Mr. Hall." He chuckled, the sound rich and unguarded. "You're relentless." They sat in companionable silence, the tea's warmth mingling with the room's quiet intimacy. Emboldened by the moment, Sofia spoke of her childhood nights, helping her mother nurse her father through illness, the community that rallied around them despite prejudice. Liam listened, his eyes tracing her features, captivated by her strength. As midnight approached, exhaustion claimed Liam. He lay back on the bed, his defenses lowered, and Sofia, caught in a moment of instinct, tucked a blanket around him. "You're too good at this," he murmured, half asleep, his hand catching hers. The touch lingered, a silent promise, and Sofia's heart raced. She settled on the far side of the bed, intending to keep her distance, but sleep pulled her under, and in the night's quiet embrace, she drifted closer, her body curling against his. Dawn broke with a soft glow, painting the room in hues of rose and gold. Sofia awoke to find herself nestled against Liam, his arm draped over her, warm and protective. Her breath caught a flush rising as she realized their proximity. His eyes fluttered open, meeting hers, a sleepy smile curving his lips. "Morning," he said, his voice husky, stirring something deep within her. "Didn't mean to invade your space," she stammered, pulling back, but his hand tightened gently. "Don't apologize. It felt right." The day unfolded with a new rhythm. They shared breakfast on the terrace, the ocean breeze carrying laughter as Sofia teased Liam about his newfound vulnerability. A billionaire with a cold. She quipped, her eyes sparkling. Who knew you were human? He retaliated by tossing a grape at her, their banter light, but charged with unspoken desire. They spent the morning exploring the estate's library, where Liam read aloud from Baldwin, his voice weaving stories that resonated with Sofia's own. Yet the intimacy was tempered by doubt. As they walked the beach at noon, waves lapping at their bare feet, Sofia voiced her fear. What happens when the contract ends? Are we playing a part? Or is this real? Liam stopped, his gaze intense. I don't know the endgame, Sofia, but I know I want you here now. His words, raw and honest, convinced her to stay, to explore the fragile thread of their connection. The afternoon brought a visit from Eleanor, who was a reminder of the family's expectations. She praised Sofia's warmth and authenticity, but her words carried a warning: Liam needs grounding. Be his anchor, but guard your heart. Sofia nodded, her resolve strengthening. That evening, as they dined under the stars, Liam shared a rare memory of his mother lost too young, whose kindness mirrored Sofia's. You remind me of her, he said, his hand finding hers, the touch a lifeline. The part closed with a quiet moment in the garden, fireflies dancing like tiny lanterns. Liam pulled Sofia close, his breath warm against her ear. Stay tonight, he whispered, not a command, but a plea. She met his gaze, her heart a symphony of hope and fear. Only if we're honest, she replied, her voice a vow. As the night enveloped them, the mansion a cocoon of possibility, their romance blossomed delicate, yet rooted in moments that promised forever. The pulse of New York City thrummed through the glass walls of Hall Enterprises headquarters, a sleek monolith in Manhattan's financial district where power was both currency and crown. Sofia Carter, now a familiar figure in Liam Hall's world, navigated its corridors with a confidence that belied the butterflies in her stomach. The past weeks had woven a tapestry of intimacy, shared mornings in the Hamptons, whispered confessions under starlit skies. But tonight's corporate gala at the Waldorf Astoria promised a new test. Sofia, in a crimson gown that flowed like a river of fire, felt the weight of eyes upon her, not all kind, as she stepped into the gilded ballroom. Liam stood at the center of the room, a beacon in his black tuxedo, commanding as he greeted investors and rivals alike. His eyes found Sofia's, a silent tether across the crowd. Still, the moment was shattered by the arrival of Tessa Greenwood, a Harvard classmate, whose history with Liam was etched in the familiarity of her smile. With her porcelain complexion and honey-blonde hair, Tessa exuded an effortless elegance that whispered of old money and shared memories. Liam, darling. She purred, her hand resting lightly on his arm. It's been too long. Sofia's heart tightened, an unfamiliar pang of jealousy stirring. She had heard of Tessa, his friend from college, the daughter of his mentor, but the warmth in their exchange felt like a blade. Tessa's gaze flicked to Sofia, appraising, then dismissive. And you must be the assistant, she said, her tone dripping with condescension, a subtle jab at Sofia's outsider status. The room seemed to hush, waiting for Sofia's response. I'm Sofia Carter Hall, she said, her voice clear, resonant, cutting through the murmur. Liam's wife. The word hung like a spark, igniting whispers. Tessa's smile faltered, but she recovered quickly, laughing lightly. Oh, the contract wife. How quaint. The insult landed, a reminder of the chasm between Sofia's roots and this world of privilege where her skin and background were footnotes to be scrutinized. Liam's hand found Sofia's, his grip firm, grounding. Tessa, Sofia is far more than a contract. She's my partner. His words were a shield, but Sofia sensed the undercurrent of tension. The gala unfolded a whirl of champagne and deals, but Tessa's presence lingered like a shadow. She maneuvered closer, regaling Liam with stories of their Harvard days, late-night debates, yacht trips on the Charles River, each anecdote a claim on his past. Sofia determined to hold her ground, engaged with guests, her charm disarming skeptics. She spoke of education initiatives, and her passion for equity resonated with a tech mogul who pledged support for her projects. But her eyes drifted to Liam and Tessa, their laughter a melody she couldn't join. When a young executive, Marcus, approached her with a warm smile and offered a dance. Sofia accepted, her movements graceful on the polished floor. Marcus was kind, and his conversation was easy, but Sofia felt Liam's gaze burning from across the room. The dance ended, and Liam strode over, his expression a storm. Sofia, a word. His tone was clipped, his hand guiding her to a quiet alcove, draped in velvet curtains. What was that, he demanded, his eyes dark with something raw, jealousy unmasked. Sofia's breath caught her own emotions rising. A dance, Liam. Or do you think I'm here to play a role, and nothing more? His jaw tightened, but his voice softened. I saw you with him, and I didn't like it. The admission was raw, a crack in his armor. Sofia stepped closer, her gaze unflinching. And Tessa? She's all over you, Liam. Am I supposed to stand by while she claims what's mine? The air crackled their words, a dance of fire and longing. Liam's hand cupped her cheek, his thumb tracing her jaw. You're mine, Sofia, and I'm yours, no one else. The confession hung between them, a vow sealed in the dim light. Before they could say more, Tessa appeared, her smile saccharine. Liam, the board wants you for photos. Her eyes flicked to Sofia, a challenge. Sofia's resolve hardened. She wouldn't be sidelined. I'll join you, she said, linking her arm with Liam's, her presence a declaration. At the photo session, she stood tall, her hand in his, the camera capturing their unity. A black woman from Selma, and a white billionaire, defying whispers. The night escalated when Tessa cornered Sofia in the ladies' lounge, her words sharp as glass. You're a placeholder, Sofia. Liam's world doesn't bend for someone like you. Sofia's response was a quiet storm. His world is changing, Tessa, and I'm not going anywhere. The confrontation ended with Tessa's retreat, but the victory felt hollow. Sofia returned to Liam, her heart heavy with the weight of proving herself. As the gala wound down, they escaped to the hotel's rooftop garden, the city sprawling beneath them like a canvas of dreams. Stars blinked above, mirroring the fire in Liam's eyes. He told her, I meant what I said, pulling her close, the scent of his cologne mingling with the night air. You're not just my wife on paper. Sofia's heart raced, but doubt lingered. Then why does it feel like a battle, Liam? Your world. Tessa, they don't see me. He tilted her chin, his gaze unwavering. Let them talk. I see you, Sofia. Your strength, your heart. You're rewriting my world. His lips brushed hers, a kiss that tasted of promise and defiance, sealing their bond against the city's pulse. They lingered wrapped in each other, the skyline a testament to their growing love. The days following were a whirlwind. Sofia took charge of the charity event at Hall Enterprises, and her vision for inclusive education gained traction. Liam supported her, attending planning sessions, and his presence was a quiet endorsement. They shared stolen moments, a coffee run in Soho, a sunset stroll in Central Park, each deepening their connection. But Tessa's shadow persisted, her calls to Liam frequent, her intentions unclear. One evening in the mansion's study, Sofia found a letter from Tessa on Liam's desk. Its words intimate, suggestive. Her heart sank, but she confronted him, her voice steady. "What does she want, Liam?" He sighed, tossing the letter aside. "Closure. A past I've outgrown. You're my future." His honesty, raw and convincing, melted her doubts. They spent the night talking, unraveling fears, their hands entwined by the firelight. The part closed with a quiet moment in the Hamptons' orchard, apples ripening under autumn's touch. Liam picked one, offering it to Sofia with a smile. A peace offering. He said, his eyes warm. She took it, her fingers brushing his, the gesture a promise. "No more battles," she whispered, convinced by the fire in his gaze. As leaves fell around them, their romance ignited a flame that burned through jealousy, bright and unyielding. The golden hues of autumn draped Selma, Alabama, in a tapestry of amber and crimson, the fields stretching endlessly under a sky that seemed to hold its breath. Sofia Carter had returned to her roots, the familiar creak of her family's farmhouse porch, a balm to her soul, after weeks navigating the glittering, unforgiving world of New York's elite. At 28, she carried the weight of her dual existence. Sofia Carter, the resilient daughter of Selma and Sophia Carter Hall, the enigmatic wife of Liam Hall, billionaire scion of Hall Enterprises. The Hamptons had kindled a flame between them, fanned by stolen kisses and confessions under starlit skies. However, the journey back to her hometown was a pilgrimage to confront shadows of her past, and perhaps to understand the man who was rewriting her future. The farmhouse, weathered yet warm, stood as a testament to her family's endurance. Sofia's parents, Clara and James, greeted her with embraces that smelled of home-cooked cornbread and love. But the air was thick with tension. Her Aunt Loretta and her cousin Denise had overstayed their welcome, their presence a storm cloud over the household. With her sharp tongue and grasping hands, Loretta had taken to rummaging through Sofia's belongings, her eyes gleaming at the sight of a sapphire necklace, a gift from Liam's grandmother Eleanor, symbolizing Sofia's place in the Hall family. "Nice trinket," Loretta sneered, holding it up to the light. "Must have cost a fortune. Why not share with family?" Sofia's response was calm, edged with steel, honed by years of standing tall against prejudice. "It's not just a trinket. It's a promise I intend to keep." Her voice carried the strength of Selma's fields, where she'd learned to fight for her dignity against whispers of racial bias. But Denise, emboldened by her mother, snatched the necklace, slipping it into her pocket with a defiant smirk. "Finders keepers," she taunted, igniting a spark of fury in Sofia's chest. The confrontation unfolded in the living room, where faded family photos bore witness. Sofia's demand was firm. "Return it, Denise. Now." Loretta laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "You think you're above us, married to that white billionaire? You're still just a girl from Selma." The words cut, echoing the slights Sofia had faced, growing up being overlooked, underestimated, and judged by her skin color. She stepped closer, her eyes blazing. "I'm not above you. I'm just done letting you take what's mine." Before the argument could escalate further, a knock at the door silenced the room. Liam stood there, unannounced, his presence a shockwave. Dressed in a simple navy sweater and jeans, he was less the untouchable CEO and more a man driven by instinct. His blue eyes, sharp, yet softened by concern, locked onto Sofia. He said, "I was in Birmingham for a deal." His voice low, resonant. "I'm checking on you." The lie was thin. His assistant had told him about Sofia's return, and something unspoken had pulled him south. Sofia's parents welcomed him with wary warmth, their southern hospitality tempered by the knowledge of their daughter's contractual marriage. But Liam's gaze never left Sofia, sensing the tension. When Denise, emboldened, flaunted the stolen necklace, Liam's expression darkened. "He said it belongs to my wife," his tone a quiet storm. He stepped forward, retrieving the necklace with a gentleness that belied his authority, and placed it in Sofia's hand, his fingers lingering a touch that spoke of protection, of partnership. Loretta bristled, but Liam's presence was a force she couldn't challenge. "Your guest's here," he said, his voice cutting through her protests. "Leave by morning or I'll ensure you're escorted out." The threat was delivered with the calm of a man accustomed to wielding power, and Loretta and Denise retreated, their defiance crumbling. Sofia's parents, stunned, thanked him quietly, but Sofia felt a mix of gratitude and unease. Was he here for her, or to maintain control? That evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of fire, Sofia and Liam walked the fields behind the farmhouse. The air was crisp, scented with earth and memory. "Why did you come?" Sofia asked, her voice soft but searching. Liam stopped, his boots sinking into the soil. He admitted, "I needed to see you," his gaze meeting hers unguarded. "And I owe you an explanation." Under the spreading branches of an ancient oak, Liam shared his past, a chapter he'd kept locked away. "I served in Afghanistan," he said, his voice low, as if the memories were heavy stones. "Special forces. I saw things, did things that left scars. Not just here," he touched his chest, where a faint scar hid beneath his shirt, "but here." He tapped his temple, his eyes distant. "When I came back, I built walls. The company, the marriage contract, it was all under your control until you." Sofia listened, her heart aching for the boy who'd become a soldier, then a titan, carrying wounds no one saw. She shared her own scars. The slights of growing up black, in a town where doors were closed, the resilience forged in community kitchens and church basements. "I fought to be seen," she said, her voice a melody of strength, "not just for me, but for those who came before." Their confessions wove them closer, a sacred field where truths bloomed like wildflowers. Liam reached for her hand, his touch warm, grounding. "You make me want to tear down those walls," he said, his words a vow that convinced her heart. Sofia's fingers tightened around his, her eyes glistening. "Then let's build something new together." The night deepened their bond. They cooked in the farmhouse kitchen, Sofia teaching Liam her mother's recipe for gumbo, their laughter filling the space as spices danced in the air. Flour dusted his cheek and she wiped it away, their eyes locking in a moment that felt like a promise. Liam's hand found hers as they ate under the porch's soft glow, fireflies flickering like tiny stars. "You're home to me," he whispered the words, a caress that set her heart ablaze. The next day, they drove to a local market, Sofia introducing Liam to the rhythm of Selma's community vendors, who knew her name, children who ran to her with hugs. Liam, usually reserved, joined in buying peaches and joking with elders, his ease surprising her. "You fit here," she said, half teasing as they sat by a creek sharing fruit. He smiled, his eyes warm. "Maybe I fit with you." But shadows lingered. In New York, rumors swirled about Liam's southern wife, some questioning her place in his world. Sofia felt the weight, but Liam's support was unwavering. He arranged for a donation to Selma's community center, honoring her roots. As they parted at the airport, his kiss was fierce, a declaration. This isn't just a contract anymore. Sofia boarded her flight, her heart a kaleidoscope of hope and fear, convinced by his actions that their love could bridge worlds. The part closed with Sofia alone in the Hamptons mansion, the necklace gleaming on her dresser, symbolizing their shared journey. She traced its contours, whispering to the night, "Liam, you're my unexpected home." As stars blinked over the ocean, their romance took root, resilient and radiant, ready to face the storms ahead. The autumn air in New York City carried a crisp edge, the leaves in Morningside Heights blazing with shades of copper and gold, as Sofia Carter stepped onto the campus of Columbia University. The Gothic arches and ivy-clad buildings stirred memories of her graduate school days, when she dreamed of a PhD, before the weight of her family's struggles, and a contractual marriage to Liam Hall had reshaped her path. At 28, Sofia was a vision of grace, her deep brown skin glowing under the soft light, filtering through the trees, her eyes alight with nostalgia and resolve. Tonight's event, a networking gala hosted by the literature department, was meant to be a favor to her former mentor, Professor Helen Brooks, who had begged Sofia to attend and inspire young scholars. But the invitation carried an undercurrent of something unspoken, a twist Sofia couldn't yet see. The low library, its dome a beacon against the twilight, buzzed with academics and alums, their conversations a symphony of ideas and ambition. Sofia wore a tailored dress of deep sapphire, its elegance understated, yet striking a nod to her growing confidence in Liam's world. She had left the Hamptons that morning, Liam's parting kiss still warm on her lips, his promise to join her later, a quiet anchor. Their bond had deepened in Selma, where shared confessions had peeled back layers of their pasts, revealing scars and dreams that bound them closer. Yet the city's pulse reminded her of the scrutiny they faced, a black woman from the South and a white billionaire, their love, a defiance of convention. Professor Brooks greeted her warmly, her silver hair swept into an elegant chignon. "Sofia, you're a star tonight," she said, her eyes twinkling with mischief. "I've a surprise. My son Daniel is here. He's a doctor single, and I thought you two might hit it off." Sofia froze, her smile faltering. She said, "Professor, I'm married," her voice steady, but tinged with unease. Brooks laughed, waving a hand. "Oh, that contract with Hall. A formality, surely. Your young, vibrant Daniel's perfect for you." The words struck like a cold wind, unraveling Sofia's composure. She hadn't shared the truth of her evolving love with Liam, fearing judgment from those who once saw her as a rising scholar, not a billionaire's wife. Before she could protest, Daniel approached, his warm smile and easy charm, disarming. "Sofia, Mom's told me so much about you," he said, offering a handshake. She reciprocated, polite, but guarded, her mind racing. This misunderstanding could shatter the fragile trust she and Liam had built. As the gala unfolded, Sofia mingled her eloquence, captivating professors and students alike. She spoke of literature's power to bridge divides, her passion a beacon. But Daniel's presence was a constant shadow, and others mistook his attentiveness for flirtation. Whispers spread. "Is that Sofia Carter with Brooks's son? She's single, isn't she?" The rumors reached Liam, who arrived unannounced, and his presence was a storm breaking over the hall. Dressed in a charcoal suit, his blue eyes blazed with fury and hurt as he spotted Sofia laughing with Daniel near a display of rare manuscripts. Sofia, Liam's voice cut through the crowd, low but commanding, drawing every eye. She turned, her heart plummeting at the storm in his gaze. A word. He led her to a secluded balcony overlooking the campus, the city's skyline glittering like a distant promise. "What is this?" he demanded, his voice raw. "You're here playing single while we're still married." The accusation stung, igniting Sofia's own fire. "I was invited to help Liam, not to find someone new. You think I'd betray you?" His jaw clenched, but his eyes betrayed pain. "I saw you with him." Smiling close. "What am I supposed to think?" Sofia stepped closer, her voice trembling with conviction. "Think that I'm yours, that I've fought for us against your world, against mine, but I won't be judged for doing a favor. Tears welled her vulnerability a mirror to his. I didn't tell them about us because I didn't want to be seen as the girl who married for money. I wanted them to see me. Liam's anger faltered, replaced by a dawning realization. He reached for her, cupping her face, thumb brushing away a tear. I see you, Sofia. I always have. But this, he gestured to the gala, the whispers, it makes me crazy thinking you might want out. His confession was a thunderclap shaking the foundations of their contract. Sofia's heart raced, her voice a whisper. I don't want out. I want you. But I need you to trust me. The moment hung electric as the city hummed below. Liam pulled her close, his forehead resting against hers, their breaths mingling. I trust you, he said, the words a vow that convinced her soul. But we can't hide anymore. They need to know you're mine. Before she could respond, he took her hand, leading her back inside, his resolve a beacon. In the hall, he climbed the stage, the crowd falling silent. Ladies and gentlemen, he began, his voice resonant, commanding. I want to introduce my wife, Sofia Carter Hall, a woman of brilliance, strength, and heart, who has changed my life. The room erupted in murmurs, some shocked, others admiring. Standing beside him, Sofia felt exposed yet empowered, her hand in his lifeline. Daniel approached, apologetic. I had no idea. Congratulations. Sofia nodded, her smile gracious but firm, closing that chapter. The gala continued, but the air had shifted. Sofia and Liam moved as one, their unity a statement. Professor Brooks, chastened, pulled Sofia aside. I misjudged. You're extraordinary, and he's lucky. Sofia smiled, her heart full. We're lucky. As they danced under the chandelier's glow, the music was a slow waltz, and Liam's arms around her felt like home. No more secrets, he murmured, his lips brushing her ear, igniting sparks. The days that followed were a whirlwind of reconciliation. They attended a lecture series together, Sofia's insights earning applause, and Liam's pride was evident. They dined at a cozy Harlem restaurant, sharing stories of their dreams, hers to fund education, his to leave a legacy beyond wealth. One night in the Hamptons, they sat by the fire, Liam's hand tracing patterns on hers. I was afraid to feel this, he admitted, his voice soft. But you make fear worth facing. Sofia leaned into him, her heart a symphony. And you make me believe in forever. The part closed with them on the mansion's balcony, the ocean's song a backdrop to their kiss, a fierce, tender promise that their love, tested by misunderstanding, would shine brighter than the city's stars, unyielding and steadfast. The autumnal glow of New York City, with its amber-tinted leaves swirling along Fifth Avenue, cast a spell over Sofia Carter as she stood outside Tiffany & Co., the iconic storefront shimmering like a beacon of dreams. At 28, she was a woman transformed, not just by the contract that had bound her to Liam Hall, the enigmatic billionaire whose blue eyes held storms and promises, but by the love that had blossomed between them through trials of jealousy and misunderstanding. The recent gala at Columbia University, where Liam had publicly declared her as his wife, had shifted their world, weaving their hearts closer, despite the whispers of a society scrutinizing their union, a black woman from Selma and a white titan of industry. Inside the store, the air was elegant. The glass cases sparkling with jewels whispered of forever. Liam had texted her that morning, his message laden yet straightforward with intent. Meet me at Tiffany's, noon. I owe you something. Sofia's heart fluttered, her sapphire dress catching the light, as she stepped inside, her curls framing a face radiant with hope. Liam awaited her near a display of diamond rings, his presence a quiet force in a navy suit that hugged his frame, his gaze softening as it met hers. Sofia, he said, his voice a low caress. You deserve more than a contract. You deserve a promise. The words stirred her, a melody of sincerity that convinced her heart to listen. He led her to a private alcove where a velvet box sat on a table, its contents a mystery. "Open it," he urged, his eyes gleaming with anticipation. Inside lay a pair of diamond rings, a delicate band for her, its stones catching the light like captured stars, and a bolder one for him, understated yet powerful. Liam said, "These aren't just rings taking her hand. His touch is electric. They're a new vow, not for the halls, not for the contract, for us." Sofia's breath caught tears pricking her eyes. "Liam, you don't have to." He silenced her with a gentle finger to her lips. "I want to. I've spent too long hiding behind walls. You've shown me what it means to feel alive." His words were a tapestry of conviction weaving around her like silk. She slipped the ring onto her finger, its weight a promise of permanence, and placed his on his hand, their fingers entwining in a moment that felt sacred. The gesture was more than a gift. It was a declaration. But the city's pulse carried whispers of doubt. As they left Tiffany's hand in hand, passers-by stared, some with admiration, others with judgment. A pair of socialites, their voices sharp as glass, murmured nearby, "Hall's wife. She's stunning, but from Alabama." "Really?" The words stung, a reminder of the racial and class divides that lingered like shadows. Sofia's chin lifted, her strength forged in Selma's fields, but Liam's grip tightened, his voice low and fierce. "Let them talk. You're my world." His defense was a spark that ignited her resolve. They strolled through Central Park, the autumn leaves crunching underfoot, the air crisp with possibility. At a quiet bench overlooking the Bethesda fountain, Liam surprised her with a paper bag from a nearby vendor, her favorite bubble tea, mango with lychee pearls, a nod to a conversation they'd shared about simple pleasures. "You remembered," she said, her smile radiant. He grinned, boyish and unguarded. "Every detail about you sticks." The afternoon unfolded in gestures that spoke louder than words. Liam had arranged for a horse-drawn carriage ride, the clip-clop of hooves a rhythm that matched their heartbeats. Wrapped in a blanket, they shared stories, Sofia of her childhood dreams of teaching Liam, of his quiet rebellion against his father's rigid legacy. He said, "I want to build something that matters," his hand finding hers, "with you." Sofia leaned into him, the city fading into a backdrop for their love. Back at the Hamptons mansion, the evening brought a new intimacy. Liam had dismissed the staff wanting privacy. In the kitchen, they cooked together, Sofia guiding him through a recipe for peach cobbler, her laughter filling the air as he fumbled with the dough. Flour dusted his cheek, and she wiped it away, their eyes locking in a moment that pulsed with desire. "Your trouble," he murmured, pulling her close, his lips brushing her forehead. The warmth of his embrace was a haven, convincing her that their love could defy any storm. But the world intruded. At Hall Enterprises, whispers of their union grew louder, and some employees questioned Sofia's place. Liam acted swiftly, calling a meeting to address the staff. "Sofia Carter Hall is my wife," he declared, his voice resonant, unwavering. "Any disrespect to her is disrespect to me. Understood?" His authority silenced doubters, but Sofia, standing beside him, felt the weight of their scrutiny. She addressed them, her voice clear. "I'm here not just as Liam's wife, but as a partner. We're building a future that includes everyone." Her words rooted in her Selma upbringing, one nods, shifting perceptions. That night, Liam pulled Sofia onto his lap in the mansion's study firelight, dancing across the walls. "You're unstoppable," he said, his hands tracing her arms, igniting sparks. She smiled, her heart full. "And you're reckless, buying rings and fighting my battles." Their kiss was slow, deep, a seal on their reconciliation. As they lay in bed, the ocean's murmur a lullaby. Liam whispered, I love you, Sophia. No more hiding. Her response was a soft vow. I love you too. Let's face the world together. The part closed with them on the balcony, stars above, mirroring the diamonds on their fingers. The city's whispers faded, replaced by the certainty of their bond. Sophia rested against Liam, her heart a symphony of hope. We're rewriting the rules, she said, convinced by his love. As the night enveloped them, their romance burned bright, a beacon against the tides of judgment, promising a future forged in love. The grand ballroom of the Plaza Hotel, bathed in the golden glow of chandeliers, stood as a monument to New York's timeless elegance, its walls echoing with the laughter and clinking glasses of the city's elite. Sophia Carter, now fully entwined in the life of Liam Hall, stepped into the space with a grace that silenced whispers. At 28, she was a vision in a gown of ivory silk, its delicate embroidery catching the light like moonlight on water, her dark curls cascading over shoulders that bore the strength of her journey. Tonight was their 3rd anniversary, a celebration Liam had orchestrated to proclaim their love to a world that had doubted them, a black woman from Selma and a white billionaire whose union defied convention. The past months had been a crucible forging their bond through trials of misunderstanding and societal scrutiny. The diamond rings from Tiffany's, now gleaming on their fingers, were not just symbols, but vows etched in the quiet moments of shared dreams and fierce loyalty. Liam, resplendent in a tailored black tuxedo, stood by her side, his blue eyes alight with pride as he greeted guests. The plaza's opulence was a fitting stage for their declaration, a night to silence doubters and celebrate a love that had blossomed against all odds. The evening began with a toast, Liam's voice resonant as he raised a glass of champagne. To Sophia Carter Hall, he said, his gaze locked on hers. My partner, my love, my home. The room erupted in applause, but Sophia felt only the warmth of his words, a melody that convinced her heart of its truth. She responded, her voice clear and unwavering. To Liam, who showed me that love transcends boundaries. To us. Their glasses touched a chime that echoed like a promise, drawing smiles from allies and envious glances from skeptics. But the night was not without its shadows. Tessa Greenwood, Liam's former friend, whose ambitions had once threatened their bond, lingered at the event's edges, her presence a reminder of past conflicts. Sophia had learned of Tessa's attempts to undermine her, spreading rumors at Hall Enterprises, questioning her legitimacy. Liam had acted decisively, barring Tessa from the company and ensuring Sophia's identity as his wife was known to all. Tonight, Tessa approached, her smile tight. Congratulations, Sophia, she said, her tone laced with frost. You've played your cards well. Sophia met her gaze, her poise unshaken. No cards, Tessa. Just love. Something you might not understand. The retort was gentle, but cutting, a testament to Sophia's growth from a woman who once doubted her place to one who claimed it unapologetically. Liam, overhearing, stepped closer, his arm around Sophia's waist. Tessa, you're here as a courtesy. Don't overstay it. His words were final, and Tessa retreated, her defeat a quiet victory for their union. The celebration unfolded in a whirl of elegance, dinner tables adorned with orchids, a string quartet playing softly, and guests from across the city's spectrum, from philanthropists to community leaders whom Sophia had championed. She had spearheaded a new initiative at Hall Enterprises, funding education in underserved areas like Selma, and tonight's gala doubled as a fundraiser. Delivering passionately, her speech moved the room. Education is freedom. It's the bridge between worlds, as love has bridged mine and Liam's. Applause thundered, and Liam's smile was a beacon, his pride palpable. A quieter moment came when they slipped away to the plaza's terrace, the city skyline glittering below like a sea of stars. Liam pulled her close, his breath warm against her ear. "You've changed everything," he said, his voice a low vow. "I was lost in my own world, until you." Sofia's heart swelled, her fingers tracing the ring on his hand. "And you gave me a place to belong, Liam, not just in your world, but in ours." Their dance under the terrace's soft lights was a symphony of movement, their bodies swaying to a melody only they heard. The city's hum faded, leaving only the rhythm of their heartbeats. "I almost lost you," Liam murmured, his lips brushing her temple. "Never again." Sofia's response was a whisper, "You never will." The kiss that followed was fierce, tender, a seal on their journey from contract to eternity. The night's climax came with a surprise. Liam led Sofia to the stage where a screen flickered to life, displaying images of their journey moments in Selma, stolen glances in the Hamptons, her work with the foundation. "This is our story," he told the crowd, his hand in hers. "A love that defies expectations, that builds bridges." The room rose in a standing ovation, and Sofia, tears in her eyes, felt the weight of their acceptance. A world once skeptical, now celebrating their union. As the gala wound down, they lingered in the ballroom, guests departing with words of admiration. Eleanor, the matriarch, approached, her eyes warm. "You've made us proud, Sofia. And Liam, you've found your heart." They embraced, a family united. Back in the Hamptons, they sat by the fire, the mansion a cocoon of their love. Sofia shared a final secret. "I gave up my PhD to save my family, but you've given me a new dream, to love fiercely, to change lives." Liam's response was a vow. "We'll do it together." The part closed with them on the beach at dawn, the ocean's waves a soft serenade. Hand in hand they walked, their rings glinting in the first light. "Forever starts now," Liam said, his voice a promise. Sofia smiled, convinced by the love that had carried them through. Their story, once a contract, was now a masterpiece, etched in the sands of time, radiant and eternal.